Good afternoon and welcome to the Return Homestead. My name is Mike and my wife Marty and I homestead 6 acres in northeastern Kentucky. Today it's just business as usual on the homestead. Work never stops. There's always a lot to do and it just seems like some of these projects get stretched on forever. Let's take a look at some of them. This has really been an ongoing project for us. And there's the next one you'll see in just a second. So this has been kind of an ongoing project for us. We've been working on this wood pile. This is our primary source of heat. We're going to need to, at some point, assemble some sort of a woodshed out here. And so those plans are in the works, but currently I don't have anything figured out for how we're going to get that done. Right now it's just a wood pile covered with a tarp. And probably the most pressing of the projects that we've got right now, you guys can see all of these wood bees that are just swarming all over the side of the house here. So these wood bees are not only annoying because they just fly around and get in your face, they're kind of aggressive, they act like they own the place, but they also bore into the wood. Let me show you what they're doing. So these wood bees love to bore holes into wood siding. And our house is now all wood siding everywhere we look. And so we have these bees that are boring these holes into the wood. Now they'll dig into the wood about a foot or more and they will lay eggs up in there. You'll have a female that will stay up inside of the hole and the males defend the outside of the hole. And they're defending themselves against little critters like this. So there are wasps that will come and attack these big bees. But for the most part, they're just trying to protect their hole from other bees. And so you get these massive swarms of them that are fighting one another for control of the holes. And year after year, they'll return to the same holes. So wherever they bored in last year, they're going to come back to that same place and bore into the wood. Now, we weren't here last year, so I don't know if there are more bees here or less bees here than there were last year. Most of these holes have been sealed up and painted right before we bought the house. So somebody was aware that these bees were here and were a problem. But whatever they did to correct for that wasn't sufficient. So we're going to have to do something more here to get rid of some of these wood bees. And it's not just here on the side of the house either. It's out at the barn as well. They love the old wood. So there are a lot of wood bees that are now defending both ends of the barn. And they're just annoying. Not only are they doing damage to the building, but they are just annoying every time you try to go in and out of the structure. So we've got a couple of plans in mind. We've got some projects underway to try to correct for this. We're going to have to trap these bees and hopefully we'll have something put together here shortly. It's easy sitting back watching our videos to get the impression that we move smoothly from one project into the next. But the reality is a lot of these projects get stretched out for days or even weeks. And some of them just, they stretch out for months or years. We've got a big long laundry list. In fact, since we got moved in, Marty and I have created a list of projects to go on the list. While we're working on that, we've still got garden beds that we need to put in. In this area, we're going to be tilling the ground and putting in some row crops. So we've got corn and sunflower and green bean and several other row crops that we want to put in through here. And we're going to have to dig some beds in order to do that. Another long-term project we've been working on, we've already made a video of us planting these elderberries. They're starting to come up down here. So they're greening up for the year. Just the other day while Marty was making the bean soup video, we went through the freezer and we took out any and all berries that we had left over from last year. And that was blackberries, elderberries, blueberries. And we made all of that up into a very delicious jam. It's pretty awesome. So we're going to need some more elderberry. And we had 70 plants that we put in the ground. Marty's still got a handful of these plants. We gave a bucket of these to a neighbor who was looking to grow some elderberry as well. So he got about 15 or 20 plants from us and has those in the ground. And then we've got all of these elderberries here. So we're going to have plenty to harvest this year, but this is an ongoing project. It's not something that we did on one day and then it's over and done with. This continues. This ends up being almost a grove out here. This is right alongside the driveway. So this whole area is now planted with elderberry. We're watching for those to get big enough for us to see them. And they're going to be producing berries for us that we'll need to harvest, process into different products we're looking for. This part of Kentucky has some interesting water situations. So because of the heavy dense clay on top of the bedrock up here on the ridge, there are all kinds of places where water just kind of bubbles up out of the ground. And you end up with these wet areas or seeps. And this can get quite muddy. Most of this is so muddy you really don't want to walk through it. You could lose a boot in here. It's almost like quicksand. You can see that tire track from a vehicle that went through here. That wasn't us. So that was somebody before we ever came to look at the property. These tracks were here when we looked at it. So the ground doesn't repair itself well. We've been trying to figure out what we can grow in this area. Marty did throw some marshmallow seed out here. It does like marshy conditions. We're hoping that that's going to grow and start pushing up through the grass here shortly. But another long-term project. It's not one of those one and done kind of things. And sometimes even projects that we thought we were done with, we have to come back and revisit. As we started using the raised beds in the back, it was pretty obvious that that rough cut hemlock was not going to make a good seat for the top of those beds. The stuff is not comfortable to sit on. It's certainly not comfortable to lean against. Too many opportunities to get splinters. So we had to go with some basic deck boards. We did pick it up at one of the more common big box stores. Let me tell you about that. So we do have one big box store that we go to regularly for hardware and for lumber, and we went there to get these deck boards. We have found another lumber yard that does provide a better selection of lumber, but it's a long drive. It's about an hour and 20 minutes to get out there. Plus we'd be hauling all this weight back, so we're going to burn a lot of extra gasoline. So any money we would have saved driving out there, we would have lost in gasoline and time. So we decided to just go ahead and get these in town. The same board, same price that we saw when we looked online. Well, here's the thing you got to pay attention to, especially with the decking boards or with any of the pressure treated lumbers. They have two different grades. There's going to be a standard and a premium. Most of your big box stores do not have the shelf space to be able to keep both on site, but they will advertise both on site on their webpage. So we were looking at a price that was comparable to the other lumber yard that we like to go to. And so we decided we go ahead and make that purchase here locally. But when we got into the store, each one of these boards, and these are 12 footers, was $2 more per board. I'm not sure why the price changed overnight while we were looking at the same web page, but as soon as we got into the store, the price on the lumber went up $2 a board. So I decided, well, we'll go ahead and buy it. We're already here. We're only buying 16 boards. That's just another $32. Let's go ahead and get it done. Then I go to find this stuff on the shelf and it's $14 a board, not $10 a board. Well, that's a huge difference now. We're talking $6 a board more expensive. And it was that difference between premium and standard lumber. Problem was they don't have standard lumber anywhere in the store. All they have is the premium lumber. So they tell you to, don't buy that. Go back and get the stuff that you really wanted, the stuff that's really priced the way you want it. But that stuff doesn't exist. It is simply not in the store. And I also showed them the webpage from the other lumber yard that we've been visiting and explained that although I had this on a cart and I was ready to make the purchase, I noticed that I could purchase it for a better price if I'm willing to drive out to this other lumber yard. And so rather than argue with me or debate about what was going on with the pricing, they just decided to price match. And the manager did come over and they matched the price for the other lumber yard. So make sure you're asking those questions, do your shopping, do your research, pay very close attention to what you're purchasing when you get into the store. A lot of times in the lumber areas, especially in the big box stores, there won't be any pricing on the shelves. They have a hard time managing those pricing labels. So sometimes the pricing labels will simply be missing altogether, or they will be old pricing labels from 6 months ago when the price was very different than it is today. So pay close attention when you're purchasing your lumber at a big box store. Make sure you're getting exactly what you expect. And so quite often projects change and new projects come up because of those changes. So we ended up with 16 of these 12-foot long 1x6s. This is the rough cut hemlock. And you can see from what I'm showing you here, this really is just not appropriate for something that you're going to sit on or kneel on. It's just going to be too easy to pick up splinters from this stuff. And that's why we were switching out the seats, but that left us with 16 of these 12-foot long 1x6s. And so we needed a new project that we could utilize these for. So we decided to build some additional beds. Like the one that I built for the ginger the other day, we're going to build some 4x4 beds. They're just a little bit shorter because this is 1x6 instead of the 1x8 that we used on the other beds. And there's our fruit production. And so far this year, we've gotten a bunch of fruit trees in the ground. We haven't even done a count on them yet. We'll have to put together a list for you guys and give you some idea exactly what we've put in the ground. This is an aronia berry, also known as a choke cherry. We had purchased that accidentally, thinking we were getting a grape, but since we had one, we went ahead and purchased two. So there's another one right over here. And these are just starting to get growing. It's going to be probably a couple of years before we get any kind of a decent harvest off of them. We need to get some cages around them. But this is a part of the ongoing growing of our orchard and fruit production. And as a part of that, also we planted these blueberries. Well, we had plenty of compost on hand when I planted the blueberries, so I did not refill the holes with the clay that we dug out in order to make the hole for the blueberry in the first place. So now I've got all these boxes of clay sitting out here. They're probably going to get wet. We'll have to wait for them to dry out again to make them easier to transport, but I've got to get these moved somewhere and do something with this clay. We've got a couple of things we're thinking about. We may want to try to make some bricks with this clay, so I'm looking into the possibility of getting some sort of a press and figuring out how to clean this clay up enough that we could make a decent brick from it. There are any number of projects that we might use if we can build a brick that can be fired. And then these bricks could be used to build kilns and ovens. Our outdoor kitchen could be built from materials we pulled right here off the land. So we're kind of excited about the prospect, but that's long term, guys. Right now we're trying to figure out how we're going to fill up all of this space with a garden and then manage that garden moving forward. And the clay is just sort of one of those incidental projects that's sort of an ongoing thing. I do have one hole down on the dam I need to look at filling. And once we got that hole full, then I got to figure out what we're going to do with the clay. So that's an ongoing project. Y'all saw us shoot several videos about putting up this chicken coop. And you probably wondered why I did this weird little cantilever thing. And the truth was I was going to build a much smaller chicken coop originally. And I realized with the materials that I had that I could build a coop this size, but I didn't feel like digging up these posts. So I left the posts where they were and just built a bigger chicken coop. So it's kind of funky looking, sort of a Frank Lloyd Wright, not the classic chicken coop that we were looking for necessarily. But it's held the chickens really well. So the Silkies love their coop. It stays perfectly dry in there for them. You know, we will be using this for water catchment, so that's still a part of the project that hasn't been finished. Is we need a gutter on this, and then we're going to need some sort of a barrel to catch the water, if for no other reason than to water the chickens. So this is another ongoing project that isn't finished, and yet we've already got to make some alterations to it as well. You probably can't see it on camera, but because of this cantilever and because the roof is so weighted to one side of the coop, it's actually sank much further down on this end than on the other end. So most of the weight's pushing down on those two posts, so as they settled, the coop settled more heavily on this end. So it's kind of slanted right now. So I need to correct that. I need to get this end of it jacked up just a little bit, maybe about an inch. And then we need to get some posts. What I'm thinking about doing is, first of all, putting some posts under the corners of the roof. I need that to support some fencing up here anyway. And then we'll probably also get some posts under this end of the coop so that it holds up that weight a little bit better. So there's another ongoing project. And then as a part of our food production projects, we want to get this well operational again. And that's going to require some sort of a well house, some way to draw the water up. Haven't decided yet if we're going to do it electrical or mechanical, or we're going to use solar. There are a lot of options. So this is another one of those projects that's just sort of in progress. And now that we're coming out into the garden often, this back porch on the house has become a real big noticeable problem. It's actually leaning, so the porch is not level anymore, neither are the stairs. We're pretty sure that when they built this porch, they used the stringer upside down, so the stairs are actually too tall, so it's too much of a step for each step. So we have some corrections that need to be made out here. So there's another project that is just sort of underway. We're kind of working on it. And there were a lot of advantages that Marty and I gained by moving to this property. The land is a much better situation. The grass on this is beautiful. It's ready to have sheep put on it. We just need to get some sheep. And that's another project we'll talk about in a minute that's still ongoing. But we also didn't really gain any advantage in outbuildings. So these buildings were, well, put together with good intentions, but there were a lot of problems in the construction methods that have left them a bit compromised now. Let me show you. So whoever built these must have gotten a really great deal on OSB. So that OSB was used for every sheeting need that they had while building. And while it does okay, under protection, meaning you're going to put it behind a vapor barrier, OSB does not like to get wet. And when it does, it starts to fall apart. Once it falls apart, it starts holding water up against any boards that it's touching, and then those boards start to rot. So we do have quite a bit of work that we need to do here in the eaves. We've also got some rot down here below that we haven't had an opportunity to really evaluate yet. Because of the lack of a moisture barrier over the top of this OSB, it began to fail underneath the metal. So the metal siding that used to cover this part of the shed has fallen off. So that's something else that we need to get corrected. Not sure what the support structure underneath the shed is, but it's obviously not appropriate. So this doorway has kind of fallen apart as the building has shifted. So the door is all tweaked out of alignment. It really does not close anymore. The floor has been replaced just on the inside of the door. And all of this flooring is loose and spongy. So we need to get in here, pull all of this linoleum up, probably pull the subfloor up off of the floor and take a look at just what the structure is like underneath. Now, hopefully, if that structure is sound, we'll be able to recover this. And the plan would be to open up the front end of the building a little bit. There's plenty of good space here, so we would remove this window and remove this door and put in a set of barn doors that would either slide open or swing open that would give us a much wider opening. And then we'd rebuild this porch in a way that would allow this to be a good workspace out in front so that you could open up the front of the storage shed and then pull your tools out and get all your work done out here on the front porch. So big plans, a project that is still underway. Our repairs to the roofing metal on the barn are holding for the moment, but that's going to be, I think, a continual, ongoing project to keep this barn up. Right now, the whole outside of it needs some attention. It does need a paint job. I am looking forward to getting rid of this smiley face. There are some places where siding boards are missing altogether. These large barn doors are in really bad shape. They really weren't properly constructed in the first place. The hinges are a little bit too small, and there's only 2 of them. And the door has been sagging for so long that we're literally just wearing away the boards that make up the door. So the whole door is crooked now. It takes quite a bit of effort to open and close this thing, and its partner over here won't open at all. So I'm not even going to bother trying with it. I'm afraid it's going to fall off if I do. There really is not any kind of a header above these doors, so there's nothing supporting the weight above this. There are no newel posts or anything holding this gate in place. Just a bunch of nails that missed the post altogether. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done here. So this is an ongoing project with the doors on the barn. Probably our first important project here on the property was getting this chicken run fixed up. We had to replace some rotted out boards here and cover up a big hole in the roof line. But we got that all repaired, got the chickens all secured. They've been out here laying eggs for us now. We're getting somewhere between 20 and 24 eggs a day out of the chickens. So well worth the effort. That's a lot of food. We can't eat that many eggs in a single day. But this chicken coop needs to have an opening on it so that the chickens can get out onto this beautiful lush grass that's just right outside of their reach. On our last property, we had a huge yard that the chickens were accustomed to running in. And they had hills to deal with, and the forage on that ground was horrible. So we ended up with those great big tall woody weeds everywhere. This has got really nice grass on it. The chickens are going to love it once they are able to get out here. But so far they are simply looking at it from the inside of the run. We don't have anything out here to keep them secure, so we do need to put a fence around a yard here that will protect them, if nothing else, from the neighbors' dogs. So the plan is to start a fence back here at the main door for the barn, extend it out this way a little bit, and then we're going almost all the way out to the fence between ours and the neighbor's land. We're going to leave enough room for us to be able to run the mower back and forth through there a couple of times, and then just come right back around and up here to the corner of the run. And since we're talking about fencing, the fence between us and the neighbors is sufficient for right now, but it stops here at the corner. And all of the bottom part of the property is still wide open. So I do need to stretch fence across the bottom of the property down there. And then all the way over around the dam and up toward the lake. So we are still missing a significant amount of fencing. That's something that I'm on the short list for. So we really want to get that secured, be able to keep the neighbors' dogs off of the property. And then there's the second outbuilding out here, which may not look like much, but it is very sturdily built. So the framing underneath this is in really good shape. Once again, they used OSB on the outside and did not protect that from the weather. Without some sort of a vapor barrier, it does just fall apart. So we're going to have to resheet this thing. Hopefully the flooring is going to be solid enough we can recover that. And we'll probably set this up as some sort of an off-grid cabin, just someplace we can come and hang out that's designed to be off the grid, no electricity. And just walking by reminded me of another project that we need to work on. Got this great big pile of bricks. It's just kind of sitting here bowing the fence out. I'm sure we have some sort of a water penetration or water saturation issue here, and somebody dumped these bricks on top of it hoping that would stop it. It's probably washing out bad underneath here or something like that. At least that's what I'm hoping to find. I hope somebody didn't just dump a pile of bricks here, but that also is possible. All these bricks are a good resource. We can build with those. And there's a lot that we would like to get done with them. So we got to clean them up, get them out of this pile, get them into some sort of a usable condition. And another place that we should be spending more time down here at the lake. This is a part of our return to life plan. We do want to be able to utilize this space. Right now, I don't even know if there's any fish in the lake because I cannot get anywhere near it. These cattails have been ignored for a lot of years, and they have grown up to simply choke out the entire lake. So, another ongoing project. Something that does require attention. We're just going to have to work on it when we have time. In the meantime, it's just hanging out there. We've gotten all the trees planted for our grove, at least all the trees that we intend to plant this year. About the only other thing we would add, if we can find them, is currants. We haven't been able to find any of those, black or red, or even some white currants. We're looking forward to getting those growing here on the property at some point. And so this is an ongoing project. Something we're still working on. We haven't even found everything yet. We did get the ginger in the ground. We haven't watered that yet. So, even the ginger, still an ongoing project. And then this is an area that still needs attention. We did have quite a bit of gravel put in. We brought in 2 truckloads of gravel. It's about 25 tons per truckload, so about 50 tons of gravel we had dropped on this driveway. And, you know, he was just doing the best he could to spread it out for me using the truck. I let him know I didn't have a tractor, so he did his best to distribute it, but it's not perfect. So I still need to do some work on this driveway, and that's going to mean shovel, hoe, rake, wheelbarrow. Moving rock from the bottom of the hill up to the top of the hill if we have to. Our driveway, because it's one of the last ones on the road, ends up being a place where a lot of folks end up turning around. And it gets chewed up really bad. There's heavy red clay in here, and that red clay just sort of eats the gravel up as people back up and turn around in our driveway. So, ongoing project, needs attention. And then there's this gate. At our property in Nevada, we absolutely love the fact that we had a 1/4 mile long driveway with a locked gate at the end of it. We do appreciate that separation from the rest of the world. And when we moved on to that property in Nevada, the gates, they didn't even meet this well. So we know this is fixable, but in the meantime, yeah, the gates don't really meet up like they're supposed to. They're not hanging level or straight. They really need some attention, bad. So that's part of our fencing project. As we finish off the bottom of the property, I'll then move up here and we'll get this set of gates set up correctly so that they operate and allow us to secure the property. That's also a part of how we're going to hold sheep on the property. So if we're going to have a proper perimeter fence, this gate does have to be secure. Another ongoing project. There used to be a small travel trailer on this property, and it sat on top of this nice little concrete slab. It's not very good for building a building on. It's cracked and in bad repair, but it looks like a beautiful spot for some beehives. So yes, that is also a part of our plans. So an ongoing project that we are thinking about and trying to get scheduled. And we've got our kitchen. We got the lighting taken care of. We got the kitchen counter or the kitchen cabinets painted. It's looking much better, but there's still a long way. We would like to do something about the countertops. We're not real thrilled about these black countertops, so another ongoing project. Then there's the laundry room. We didn't really put this one together for you yet. We'll be showing you a video of some of the work we've been doing in here. Marty's still working on this. Another ongoing project inside the house. And it's springtime, so the sun has moved, it's shifted, and the temperature is definitely changing. So we have these big open windows up here in the loft. And things do get warmed up here in the loft pretty quickly in the morning. So we've got to do something to get these covered. That's a project we were working on today. We ran out to a big box store to get some blinds to cover some of this up. Marty's got some other plans for the side panels, but another ongoing project that we're still working on. And for several hours a day, beginning usually before she's even had her first cup of coffee, Marty tends to her plants. We've still got them set up under grow lights here. We've got some seeds that are still sprouting and still working up here under the grow lights. And she's also got the balcony area completely covered with plants that are hardening off or just growing out a little while. There's a bunch of peppers out there. We wanted some nice sized pepper plants to go in the ground, but it's way too early. They're going to be need to be tended to for at least another month before we can put them in the ground. That's definitely an ongoing long-term project. So that's one of the projects we're working on today. We're moving forward on getting the plants stepped up. Marty needs someplace to put the peppers. Now, in the end, what we want is a system that allows us to step up from one pot to the next using the same trays in a greenhouse, and we'll get there. Those are all projects that are in the works. We're working on them. And today, we're just wanting to step things up. So we got some solo cups. We put a couple of holes in the bottom of them. This will support the peppers while they grow out a little bit bigger, and we'll wait until after May 1st to get them in the ground. And that's really just the short list of all the projects that we're working on or that we have suspended or that we're planning on getting involved in. And that doesn't even mention all of the study and research we have to do just to pull some of these projects off. We haven't done a lot of them before. So this is all new information to us, and we're working with new tools, new skill sets, new ideas about how things should be done. So I was reviewing our videos on our channel the other day, and I noticed that it kind of makes the homesteading life seem episodic, because we're trying to put together a rational video that has relevance to you and also provides a useful packet of information about how things might be done. And so we're trying to put these things together in discrete little project packets, almost as if we scheduled and planned a project, we had a budget for it, we executed that budget, we operated exactly according to our plan to execute the project, and it was complete, and we moved on to the next project. But that's not the reality of the homestead life. While we're working on these projects, we're often racing storms, as we are right now. We're actually under a thunderstorm watch. So I'm trying to get this video completed so that I can get in and work on the editing while the storm passes over. I won't be able to work in the garden while that storm's happening, so I'm just looking to maximize my time for the day. Do apologize for any of the wind noise that's getting through. We've done what we can with the microphones, but again, it's another ongoing project, just learning how to do these YouTube videos in a way that's compelling. The reality is, homesteading is not an episodic adventure. It's not as clear-cut and discreetly packeted as a project typically is. So when Marty and I get up each day, we may have some idea of what our primary goal is for the day. What is the one thing that we absolutely have to get done for the day? And that's typically going to take up anywhere from 2 to 3 hours of our time. But that leaves us with the rest of the day to pretty much do anything and work on any one of these projects that we want to. And so we're constantly adjusting and evaluating our priorities, trying to decide where to apply the time and the resources that are available so that we get the maximum benefit out of it. Now, all of these projects need to be finished, and most of them have been at least started. We are well down the road. For instance, the fencing project, I have a complete plan. I have figured out exactly how much fencing, how many fence posts, what kind of brackets I need, what kind of gates I need. I've sourced all of those, priced them out, and I have some idea how much we're going to spend in order to accomplish that. But it's not like I can suddenly just jump up one morning and say, I'm going to go put a fence around the chicken yard. It doesn't really work that way. There are other concerns that come up day in and day out that make it impossible to set aside that much time to go and get that block of work done all at once. And so every day we're going through this balancing routine of reevaluating our priorities and deciding day by day, even hour by hour, what is the most important thing for us to be working on. So each day as we're evaluating those priorities, we're trying to keep our shared values in mind of the things that we're trying to accomplish. And that's really the message that we're hoping is coming through on our channel. We thought it important, and it was of the highest value to us, that we return to the land, return to labor, and return to life. We want the same things that you want. We want to be happy. We want to be well fed. We want to be comfortable. We want to be warm in the winter, and we want to be cool in the summer. We want to have all of the stress of life removed from our shoulders and to be able to relax and just enjoy. But that's not how it works. You know, the Bible gives a very clear instruction to the gardener to stop and smell the roses. But the whole point is the gardener is too tied up in gardening sometimes to pay attention to the fact that the roses smell nice. So as we're readdressing our priorities, we're matching them against those values of returning to the land, returning to labor, and returning to life. And we're deciding each day exactly what it is that we need to work on. Some days, like this morning, it's just overwhelming. There is so much to look at and so many things that we could pay attention to, it's hard to decide what to latch into. And I had been looking through some of our old videos, trying to figure out, well, what are we going to shoot a video of next? And it dawned on me, our life looks too episodic. It really doesn't work that way. It really is more of a commitment to a shared set of values that generate a collection of priorities that we balance and juggle hour to hour to decide what it is we need to be working on. Now, for the last hour and a half or so, I've been working on making this video. That means that there are other projects that have been put on hold because this was the highest priority to us for right now. We wanted to make sure that this video gets released on schedule on Thursday. We're trying to get videos to come out every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday to make sure that there's plenty of content for y'all to look at. And we're hoping that the message is still coming across. We don't want to just make videos about projects that we're working on. We truly want to encourage you to return to the land, return to labor, and return to life. Just since getting out on this property, we're only beginning to understand how pursuing that shared set of values is improving the way that we experience life. We don't carry the same weight through each day that we used to carry. And what we've decided is more important to us is that we simplify it, that we reduce the amount of places that we touch the world and the world touches us, so that we can keep a good head on our shoulders about what the next priority is. We've removed a lot of those distractions by moving out here, and we pray that that relief of stress is starting to come through in the videos as well. We really do want y'all to be encouraged to come out here and appreciate what we found out here in God's country. It is possible for you to also return to the land, labor, and life, and to find some relief from the chaos of the world that you're engaging with now. All it takes is just to get started. Go grab a seed, go grab some dirt, and get it stuck in the ground. Get busy tending the garden, which was your original instruction from God in the first place. We do appreciate you joining us on the Return Homestead today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, would you please take a moment to do that? And while you've got that window open, hit the thumbs up icon. That's going to let the algorithm know you enjoyed the video, so they'll share it out with more people. We'd also appreciate it if you could share this video out on your social media. Help us get the message out there that anyone can return to the land, labor, and life if they'll just commit to taking that first step. We'll see you next time.